Welcome to Group Chat on Two-Way, a platform whose ethos is peace, love, and understanding, and the presumption of grace for all. We are so glad that you're joining us today, and I am so thrilled to be joined by my co-hosts, Nina Turner, Robby Soave, Dan Turrentine, and Emma Jo Morris. Nina's a progressive, Dan is a moderate Democrat, Robby is a libertarian, and Emma Jo is a conservative. We are just so delighted to be able to have this kind of conversation that we know are happening in American families across the country. And we're so delighted that you are here. And if you are on the Two-Way platform, of course, we're going to be taking your calls, bringing you guys into the conversation to join the group chat. And we could not be more excited. I do have to make a note about comments. I really hope this is the last time I'm going to have to say this. We're really, really blessed to have this diverse group here. And you are really, really blessed to have every single person on this panel willing to be here, despite the fact that some of them know that you don't necessarily agree with everything they say. It's truly, truly a privilege. And I just really cannot ask you enough. Please only write nice things in the chat. Just don't say mean stuff. We're not going to be able to keep doing this if people feel that what's in the chat is something that they can't live with having to be exposed to. So thank you so much for your attention to this matter, as Trump might say. And on that note, there's one story that has really taken over.
Great segue, Batya. Great segue.
It's funny because I initially thought, well, we're not going to talk about this story because it's not that important. And then it just absolutely blew up. And of course, I am talking about the epic breakdown of the bromance between the richest man on the planet, Elon Musk, and the most powerful man on the planet, Donald Trump. They got super close after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Elon Musk poured $250 million into his campaign. Trump gave him a position in the White House. He gave him Doge. He was cutting spending, and it officially blew up today. Less than a week ago, Trump was giving Musk this like Oval Office send-off, replete with a golden key, to which door we don't know, but lauding his cut of waste and abuse and fraud. And yet since leaving the White House, Musk has been relentlessly attacking the president's agenda. So it started with Musk. I'm going to go through the whole breakdown. So it started with Elon Musk attacking the big, beautiful bill. Let's look at element 14. So on Tuesday, Musk kind of exploded and he said, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore." Apparently, he'd been holding this in. "This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." So Trump was asked about this in the Oval Office today, a few hours ago. And here's how he responded to Elon Musk taking on his big, beautiful bill. Let's watch element 5 and 6.
Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk. And even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it.
So basically, Trump's commentary unleashed like a fire hose of criticism from Elon Musk, who then started quote tweeting old tweets of Trump's in which Trump was talking about balancing the budget. And then he went so far as to accuse Trump of ingratitude. So let's take a look at element 17 and suggested that Trump would not be president if not for Elon Musk's gifts towards him during the campaign, which obviously is not the kind of thing you say of Donald Trump. At that point, things really started to escalate. According to Laura Loomer, and this is Element 18, people are watching this really, really closely. Loomer posted to Twitter, she said, I know lawmakers who are asking if they should side with President Trump or with Elon. I've been on the Hill all day, and it's all anyone is talking about, the most powerful man in the world versus the richest man in the world. And we're preparing for the show, and this is where we got to. And then in the minutes before we were going live, things took an even more extreme turn. Donald Trump then suggested getting rid of Elon Musk's subsidies to cut the budget. To which Musk took things up to like the nth degree and accused Donald Trump of being in the Jeffrey Epstein files. This is Element A. So this is where things stood right before we went live. And of course, we will let you guys know immediately if either of them tweets or says anything even crazier in the next hour. We're going to take a lot of your calls, but let's start off with some big questions. Who's going to come out on top? Who should lawmakers be siding with, Donald Trump or Elon Musk? What actually led to the breakdown of the epic bromance between them? Are there opportunities here for Democrats or for libertarians? Elon Musk posted a poll suggesting it might be time for a third party. So, Robby, kick us off. Where are you on this? And then we'll hear from Emma Jo.
Well, as you know, I'm a big Elon Musk fan, by far probably on this group chat, the biggest fan of Elon Musk. He's fuming. He's furious. I think what he's finding out is that, look, you can buy a lot of political influence. You can spend tons of money. Maybe that works out for specific firms or lobbying groups, especially if what their ultimate goal is to make government bigger. It doesn't seem to work if what you want to do is make government smaller. Frankly, that's what the Koch brothers discovered in all their political giving 10 or 12 years ago. And remember the Tea Party cycle when they became household boogeymen names because they were funding all these Republicans that they thought were going to turn around and cut spending. That did not happen. Elon Musk is really learning just the exact same lesson as them from a decade ago. Where this goes now, look, I have no doubt that eventually some version of the big, beautiful bill, which I'm utterly opposed to, will in fact pass. It's just Elon and Rand Paul and Thomas Massie and maybe a few others out on a limb. But what's the really interesting thing is how this will shape out on Twitter or on X, because Elon Musk owns the platform. He owns the most important conservative media platform, and he has power to pull various levers and such on the platform. So I have no doubt that Trump is going to win the political battle, but the discourse on X matters a lot for how conservative thought takes shape. And it looks pretty split right now. I'm seeing, the influencer, the people you usually see on your Twitter feed when you want to check in what is right-wing world thinking. It's going both ways right now. So we could just be in for quite an entertaining civil war.
Okay, so but Robby's it seems like you're on the Musk side. You think Musk is going to win this.
I'm ride or die with Musk, baby.
Ride or die, and that you think that he's in the right here. Emma Jo, where are you coming down on this?
That's so funny. I'm sorry, that's so okay. So I think that there's more context to be had in this conversation that isn't really getting acknowledged. Obviously, we're drinking from a fire hose today, and I understand that, but I would just like to take some time for a second to set it up. Elon Musk is new to MAGA. MAGA didn't start in the 2024 election. MAGA started 10 years ago in 2015. And people went through it for MAGA, especially in the early days. People went through it. Trump had a vision that was brand new, and some people it clicked for, and other people, most people, it took a while. And the people who it clicked for and who defended him from the go took hell for that. They took absolute hell for that. They lost friends. They lost jobs. They were alienated from their communities. They were alienated in some cases from their families. And especially people who took public stances on this went through hell. When Elon Musk came in, it was already becoming somewhat fashionable, especially given the whole Democrat situation and especially their cultural situation. It was becoming somewhat fashionable, maybe more than somewhat fashionable, to say like, yeah, by the way, we like Trump, like, we ride with Trump. That's when he comes in. And nobody, by the way, asked him to do that. He came in apparently because he was so compelled, okay? Gave a ton of money. Now to be called, okay. Then Trump wins. And what's the first encounter that he has with MAGA after that? I want more H-1B visas. I want more H-1B visas. MAGA is wrong on immigration. MAGA is wrong on immigration. The central and cornerstone issue of the MAGA agenda is immigration. And he starts coming in and lecturing the OGs about what the correct take is on immigration. Why? Because you bought your prominence in the party. Okay, so that is where the right is with Elon Musk up till today. And now today, he came in saying, I have $1 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse that I'm going to eliminate. $1 trillion. What do we get? What do we get? I think I have all the money that he got in Doge in my hotel room in Arkansas right now. Nothing. We didn't get anything. He like discovered that US aid is a waste and that we're paying for transgender surgeries in Pakistan. Okay, we already knew that. Where does this debate happen? In Congress. So he's now on Twitter ripping on Trump, who is the elected leader in this country by MAGA and independents and the majority of the country. He is the elected leader, not Elon Musk. Elon Musk is calling him an ingrate for not what? Acquiescing to whatever Elon Musk demands because he, on his own terms and on his own volition, gave money to the movement. And now he's accusing him of being part of the Epstein thing or whatever. It's like, this guy's got no class. You got to know how to have class.
Okay, so we
And
have
this is
Emma
no class.
saying no class from Elon Musk. We do have another tweet from Trump. Sam, do we have that? Trump just tweeted, and I think this is actually a really interesting tweet. He says, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase. Things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm here to fix it. That puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again. It's very interesting that the president is turning this back to the issues,
Yeah, that is.
Back to the bill, focus on the bill, and kind of pulling back from the personal attacks. Nina, I have to ask you, it seems like Elon Musk thought he had bought Trump when he says he wouldn't have won without me. Ingratitude, he says. What such ingratitude? He thought he had bought himself a president. Can you admit that Trump cannot be bought?
Yeah, in this case, in certain cases, especially this one, first of all, he's not going to let Elon Musk out-Trump him. President Trump is going to win. Elon Musk is in for the fight of his life. President Donald J. Trump is scrappy, and he is from New York, and it's all about me, 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 me. So Elon Musk is not going to win. Elon Musk is a poster child for why we need real campaign finance reform, because he had the pure, unadulterated gall to say to President Trump, after all I've done for you. Now I'm just paraphrasing, but that was the nerve. After all I've done for you. No, you tried to buy this president, buy your way in. The fact that President Trump expressed the fact that he got a lot of subsidies is further proof, all out in the open, America, that these politicians trade favors for this money. And President Trump unshamefully is saying, hey, I gave you all these subsidies. You gonna turn on me in public? See, when you're in a real relationship, see, they didn't have a relationship, folks. It was a speed date. Okay? Yeah. They thought they had a relationship. Relationships are built over time. This was a speed date that went wrong. And when President Trump said out of his mouth, we had a great relationship, that is key. He is playing, I mean, he is making Elon Musk look like a fool. And he's going to continue to do it. President Trump is the best at this.
Okay, so
how do the Republicans?
I think Trump is going to win. Robby thinks Elon Musk is winning. Dan, is there an opportunity here for Democrats, or is it just you guys enjoying eating the popcorn, enjoying the show?
Yeah, definitely. Nina and I will try not to get it on our clothes here, during the episode. Like, I think there's an interesting thing, which is I think Trump's going to win the battle to pass the big, beautiful bill, because nobody has challenged Trump in a Republican primary and kind of lived to tell about it, like in the big picture. I think the interesting thing is Trump doesn't win, right, without the slivers of the RFK vote, the Elon vote, like all these different groups that came into MAGA, Emma Jo, in this election that tripped him over to get those 1.5–2% victories that in 2020 were like 1.5% defeats in the swing states. This is where I think for MAGA, the big issue is it's populism versus kind of libertarianism and the fiscal hawks. And you're right, Robby, like no one's ever won. That was a great analogy, I think, with the Koch brothers. But if Elon takes that money and goes elsewhere and starts trying to chip away at the coalition and just hammers them relentlessly, in the long run, the opening for us is the 1.5% defeat in 16, the 0.5% victory, in those swing states in 20. It wouldn't take a lot for us to potentially get the House back in 2026 and potentially in 2028.
And
Robby,
and can I very quickly say, I just
no,
don't
not
know
quickly.
how how Republicans and on the merits, I agree that Elon calling Trump not grateful looks bad. I won't dispute how Elon is handling this, might be the wrong optics or something, but on the actual argument, my entire life, every time they run, every single Republican runs on solving the deficit, fixing this issue. And right now, Republicans have enough political power to actually take significant steps in that direction. For the first time in my lifetime, they cannot be thwarted unless the Democrats really, really try. And then fine, let's have that battle.
But Robby,
they are in better position to do that, and they're not going to do it. They're going to let their voters down on that issue. I don't. How can they look at their voters ever again and say we were serious about government spending if they don't do it now?
Have you met Donald Trump?
Liars.
Robby, you're making the point of the whole thing, which shows Elon Musk's lack of emotional intelligence and strategic intelligence, which is Mike Johnson didn't bring this up until 10 seconds ago. They've been in session for how long? He didn't bring this up till 10 seconds ago. It has just the things that Trump needs to proceed with his presidency. If this thing doesn't pass, taxes go up for the middle class. If this thing doesn't pass, they don't have money for the wall. They don't have money for immigration. They don't have money for deportations. This thing, as imperfect as it is, which I think the White House acknowledges, is just useful insofar as that it allows them to execute their agenda. And the pork and whatever is in there because Congress is full of do-nothings and liars.
Oh, I think this is because Trump's a populist.
Picking this up on Twitter with Trump is outrageous. Trump's trying to execute his agenda. You think Trump is down for pork? Of course not. This is Mike Johnson's problem. It's Mike Johnson who deserves this ire. And yet somehow he's scurrying away and saying he's going to call Musk. He's going to call his friend and talk to him.
Yeah, but guys, I don't think Trump believes in this stuff. Like, that's why he said in 15, I'm not going to touch Social Security. I'm not going to touch Medicaid. Yeah. I'm not going to touch Medicaid. I think he said, you, quote, effing shouldn't touch Medicaid now with this.
Which he's touching it.
He doesn't believe. Right. I mean, absolutely.
They're touching it.
But he doesn't believe in the tough love. He only believes in, like, I can win. It's easy. Everybody can have everything they want. And I think, to your point, Robby, there's a generational opportunity, but the problem is your iron hammer who controls the party has no belief in any of that. None.
And it's the how they're doing it too. I mean, you balance the budget from cutting Medicaid, throwing people, millions of people off of healthcare.
10.9.
And most of them are children. So we, and otherly able people. So we have a problem. We have an imbalance with President Trump running as a populist, or what I say, a faux populist, and what is actually happening in this bill. But Robby, I do not believe, even though I hear your point of view, and I respect your point of view, even though I don't agree with it on this, I would say that President Trump is all about the theater. His terrain is theater. He welcomes this, whether or not Republicans follow through on their promise. President Trump is good at illusion. And so he's going to win this battle in the court of public opinion, whether or not they accomplish policy goals. In my opinion.
Okay, so we have some more tweets from Elon Musk now. Elon Musk, this one I need a little bit bigger because I don't have a screenshot of it. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contract, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. And now we have Elon Musk retweeting Ian Miles Chong, who tweeted, "President versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and JD Vance should replace him." And Elon Musk
Absolutely
is
not. These
saying,
people are insane.
yes.
No.
This
Dan,
is
I
this
feel
No.
like,
No,
hold
no,
on,
no,
Dan,
Nina, be quiet. Just let it fester. Let it go.
Dan, my question is to you. We've talked about this a lot. I asked you this, but is Nina's concern that Elon Musk truly believes in cutting entitlements and things that are dear to the Democrats mean that, I mean, I've seen Rokana tweeting that he thinks the Democrats should see this as an opportunity to pick off a major Republican funder. Would you disagree with that, given that Musk cares? I mean, he cares about the environment, right? But he seems
Dan,
to.
no. Can I just jump? I just want to add to that. So, but it shouldn't be about, is this a win for the Democrats or that Medicaid matters to Democrats? Last time I checked, Republicans are on Medicaid, libertarians, all people from all walks of life. So that's my only point. This should matter to people who care about poor people. I just want to throw that in there.
I think the challenge, look, I think the issue for the Democratic Party is Elon is transactional. He supposedly started getting really angry with Biden because he wasn't invited to an EV event at the White House in the spring of 2024, and it really peed him off. We were all told that he had no conflicts of interest when he did Doge. He was a great patriot. He did this for his love of the country. What did he supposedly get upset about? His EV credits going out, an AI deal in the Middle East with his arch rival Sam Altman-Fried with Abu Dhabi that he threatened the Middle Eastern countries that Trump would not approve it if I'm not involved. To Trump's credit, they overrode Elon Musk. And his buddy, who he put in charge of NASA for his contract, was fired apparently as an FU to Elon on the way out. He has no allegiance to issues. It's all about Elon. He's the second largest contractor to the United States federal government. Yeah. So, I mean, I think for us, sure, if he wants to spend $300 million on our behalf, we will take it. But to get in bed with Elon Musk is to get in with someone who's all about Elon Musk and monetizing the opportunity.
This is corruption. It's corruption. It is corruption.
I want to ask about this because it does seem like he was behind the scenes trying to leverage his closeness with Trump in order to really enrich himself. He really wanted the FAA to be using Starlink, which okay, maybe, but you got to bid for it, right? He tried to tank this Abu Dhabi AI center because he wasn't included in it. He multiple times was caught out, basically trying to do China's bidding for them with this
100%.
Where is the line between the work that you like about Doge, where he was truly on board with your values, but then also these potential conflicts of interest and the desire for less oversight, the desire to be cutting the very agencies that are investigating him? Where do you come down on that?
Look, I think in my enthusiasm for Elon, I always tried to say that the most reasonable line of concern about his involvement in government is that he could direct contracts to himself and his companies in a more favorable way. I grant you that. That's fine. To the extent that he wants to, gut agencies that are that impact his businesses, I mean, that's just that's got to be fair game. He has massive financial interests. They are at war with him, and he can't fight back in any way on that ground. I acquit him entirely. Some of this is, I mean, I think on the EV mandates, right? Hasn't he said he doesn't want subsidies for these things? He wants to compete against everyone else. Now, maybe he's doing something else behind closed doors. Fine, that's fine. But in his public advocacy, it's been let it be a competitive process. And Trump himself has all sorts of conflicts of interest with his business issues. And I say, in the same way, that was before the voters, and the voters decided that wasn't enough of a problem for us to say no to Donald Trump. So it's not exactly the same thing because Elon Musk is not elected, but doesn't really give me as much pause about it as it does you, Batya.
I'm just watching Dan and Nina right now reveling in this, losing their minds.
Probably for different reasons, though.
I'm going to take the last space shuttle off of Earth along with Elon, and that's fine with me. We'll leave you all to your $1 trillion deficit, and we'll build a new colony on Mars.
Okay, Mars will be libertarian and woke. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Emma
what I
Jo,
wanted
go
to say though
ahead.
about this, what I wanted to say though about
I'll
this
see if
is-
I can get you an H-1B visa to Mars, Emma Jo.
Which, by the way, Trump sided with Elon for the record on that.
Well,
He
no, I
thinks-
was just gonna say, I think that there is, Dan, you're taking the words out of my mouth, which I think that there is a pattern that we can recognize from the past, which I always think is productive and helpful when you're in this kind of situation and you're trying to figure out where it's going, right? And they've already had a beef, or MAGA versus Elon. There was already a beef with MAGA versus Elon. It wasn't directly between Elon and Trump. At that time, Elon was still like couch surfing at Mar-a-Lago then during the transition when the H-1B visa debate blew up on X. And I'll call it Twitter today because I'm upset.
I call it Twitter all the time. In
Going low.
I'm always
Emma.
upset.
But anyway, what I was
Don't
gonna
you dare dead name that site.
but what I was gonna say is, in that beef, Elon ended up getting embarrassed when he saw that his only defender was Ian Miles Chong. And this, I bet, is gonna go the same way. And what did he do in the end? He kind of walked it back a little, and he kind of got Trump to kind of back him up a little to save some face. He was interested by then in saving face at the end of it. And I think that that is going to be something that happens here too. I mean, Elon was calling people like effing retards and stuff on Twitter. He went as hard during the H-1B thing as he is now. The spaz about Trump being on Epstein or whatever, that reminded me of, and it recalled a memory of when he called MAGA effing retards. And I think that he gets emotional and explodes it all on Twitter, and then gets embarrassed when he sees that people aren't backing him up, and then tones it down in the next week or so. And
He's a brat,
Or I
Emma Jo.
bet
He's
that
a
before-
brat.
Oh,
He's
I
a
absolutely-
toddler. He's a
I
grown. You
definitely-
know what, Emma Jo?
I
When I
agree
say
with you,
he's a
but what I was-
toddler,
But what I was just going to say
that's
is
an insult to toddlers. I just want to put that out there.
I know it's true. Honestly, it's not fair. But
No.
but what I was going to say to just to wrap that up is I think before he starts funding some sort of third party or like going to Democrats, which is hilarious.
Oh, please don't. I don't
he'll
want
end
to.
up trying to save face and walk this all back and no, and MAGA, we're aligned, and the Democrats are bad, and that's what's going to happen.
Right,
Mark,
and Trump
like
kind of
I just
gave
can't
him-
imagine otherwise. He's not going to stick to this.
Trump
Batya, what do you think?
Trump gave him a bit of an opening just now because he sort of said, look, it's really about the bill, right? Trump was the first one to de-escalate. I've never seen Trump de-escalate in that way before. So maybe he still has lingering feelings there. Let's bring in some callers because we're having so much fun and we want you guys to have fun with us. Fan favorite Peter is here.
Fan
And we're so
favorite.
Hi,
excited,
Peter.
to have you, Peter. I've seen you on some other shows. Tell everybody just briefly a little bit about your political journey and then let us know what you think about this topic.
It's a great
Hi,
beer,
so
by the
great to talk to you again, Batya, and good to meet all the rest of you. So my political journey, let me illustrate it this way, with an anecdote involving another member of the group chat. So Robby, my first exposure to you was 8 years ago, when you went into the lion's den of Chapo Trap House podcast. But these days I'm an independent, but I voted for Trump in 2024, and I'm in this whole Trump versus Elon thing. I think that Elon has just been totally absurd and ridiculous. I mean, it started with the H-1Bs thing. I worked in tech. I'm leaving that behind now, and I'm going to law school in the fall, but I worked in tech for several years, and there is no question that the higher ups in that industry use H-1Bs and other things to exploit their workers. And, that's Elon is, of course, a tech titan. And so he's, talking his book there, as they say. But I just think that let's take some of the things that Elon has said about Trump since he endorsed him, which was in July of 2024, before which he supported DeSantis in the primary. So, how did that turn out? Elon basically said that Trump kept him out of prison. I mean, he said that if the Democrats won in 2024, he had every belief that he was going to go to prison. He also said that illegal immigration was going to end democracy. And, one of the big areas where the beautiful bill, which isn't perfect, I have no illusions about that, but one of the areas where it does actually increase spending is for border and immigration stuff. So it's like either it's ending democracy or it's, waste that, we can't pass right now. And then also, if he cared so much about budget deficits, why did he oppose the tariffs when, even the CBO just came out and said that the tariffs would reduce the deficit by 2.8 trillion over the next 10 years. So his criticisms are totally unprincipled. He has no leg to stand on, and he is 100% going to lose this political fight and lose it very badly. And I think his only hope in the long run, because he's burned his bridges with the Democratic Party. I think I'm sure Dan and Nina, you agree with that, right? They're not going to take him back.
No. We are
don't
trying to
want him.
get people back in the party. We would take
No,
him.
I don't want him, Dan. I don't want him.
Come on.
See, this is where there's a disagreement, right?
I don't want him.
Everyone's welcome back.
No, not him.
We've exposed more fault lines here, but
Yes.
That's the name of the game.
Now, by the way, Peter, he shot at the tariffs early on.
right, he called
saying that
Navarro a
there's
moron.
Guys,
trade
there's
in
a new
Europe.
tweet. There's a brand new tweet on just this, Dan, and then I want you to finish your thought. Musk just tweeted, the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of the year. And you can tell he was sort of holding in and holding back. Dan, make your point about the Elon Musk.
I mean, yeah, look, it was at some point right when the tariffs were kind of getting put together. He gave an interview with I think it was an Italian publication, that there should be open trade in Europe. And he lamented the fact about American cars being sold over there. I mean, look, they're a fairly green people. He makes one of the most popular electric vehicles in the world. He wants to sell more Teslas in Europe. By the way, there's a lot of manufacturing he does or components in China. So it's one of the reasons he doesn't want, a trade war with China. So he's a global industrialist is basically what he is. And to Emma, Joe, your point, and Robby, he never believed in half of that. It was just a transactional relationship that he thought for 300 million, he bought him.
No, you know what it was? He was
He-
triggered. There's two types of conservatives that I think I've identified, and I think many agree. There's a conservative, and then there's a disaffected Democrat. And the disaffected Democrats that come to MAGA are not conservatives. They're not necessarily MAGA. They are like simultaneously repulsed by the Democratic Party and still hold to the Democratic Party's maybe original tenets that have been abandoned, most notably, free speech and acceptance of people for having different ideas. And that's a big
Peter, would you say
cohort
are you a conservative or a
MAGA.
disaffected Democrat in Europe? Because you recently, had this transformation. You voted for.
I mean, I prefer the word traditionalist. So I also had a sort of personal journey where I converted to Orthodox Christianity. So I do think that's true of a number of like disaffected people who supported Trump. Like, I think that I think different people have handled it in different ways. If you look at RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, right? The other big examples of people who, switch sides to support Trump. They have, I'm sure RFK still has his disagreements with Trump on certain things, but he's been a team player. Tulsi, I think there's reasons to believe that in some ways she was possibly always a closet social conservative. If you look at her father's positions back in Hawaii. But she was critical of Trump in 2020 when she ran for president. But again, I think ultimately when Elon first started talking like this, like speaking against the bill, I thought it was maybe kind of strategic to like make the Tesla brand a little less toxic. But now I just think he's ultimately just a very unstable person. I think he's very intelligent in some ways, but in others he lacks wisdom. And I think he's going to find that out,
He's very drug addicted.
He doesn't have
He is on drugs, like maybe right now. That has been
he doesn't have
possible.
he doesn't have an emotional quotient. He just doesn't have an emotional
I agree with
quotient.
Nina on that.
Yeah.
And
he lacks the EQ.
Yeah,
Totally.
the EQ. And to Peter's point that he made about RFK Jr. and also Tulsi, I was on the campaign trail with Tulsi. Tulsi and I, I built somewhat of a relationship beyond speed dating. And Peter makes two very good points. One is RFK Jr. has said that if the Democrats had called him instead of X'd him out and cheating in the primary. I'm never letting it go, y'all. I'm just gotta let you know, because I ain't one of those. I believe in a robust primary. They cheated in the primary. So him and others who had the courage to run had to fight their way. They never picked up the phone to call him. Politics 101. As a politician, you go get the people who were in the primary to try to get them on your side. So they pushed both RFK Jr. out, as far as I'm concerned, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard got pushed out of the Democratic Party as well. Even though, Peter, I think you're dead on. I think she's found her home, but she was a fighter in 2016 when Senator Sanders ran. She was a co-chair of the party and told the truth about how they had put all kinds of bodies on the scale against Senator Bernard Sanders. So yes, two-way community, I am partial because I was with Senator Sanders both times. But I'm telling you, I was in the meetings, before the meetings, and both of those people got pushed out of the Democratic Party. Although, Peter, you're right on. I think the former Congresswoman is really where she really wants to be.
Peter,
Yeah, I
thank
mean,
you
I think
so much for joining us. Come back soon. We love
yes.
having you. Tammy.
Yes.
come in. Do we have Tammy?
Hi, Tammy.
Tammy.
Hi,
Hi.
Tammy. Tell us
Oh,
a
wait.
little bit about
Yep,
yourself.
yep, we can hear you.
We got you.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is so exciting. I had to go to work early so I could leave my job to join the call.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Join the morning meeting because I'm always at work. So this is so exciting. So I think I know everybody on here, Nina, just now from this group chat, but everyone else I've seen somewhere else. And so Robby, my daughter just graduated from U of M this year.
Go blue. Awesome.
Yeah, she just started her job there, nursing.
Congratulations.
Anyway, so this whole Elon Musk thing. So I like Elon. I've read his book. A lot of things I could take away from it, Starlink and everything he's doing. But my issue is that I was so excited when he was doing Doge, right? I'm thinking, oh my God, finally we have such a deficit. They're going to fix all these different things that are happening. Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and all this fraud, issues, abuse, overregulation, overburden. And then it kind of like just falls apart, right? And now you have Trump in here who's not going to really do anything. He's going to kind of sort of do certain things, but not really. So at the end of the day, I kind of feel like we're all the kids stuck in the middle between the two parents who are like having this inner battle with regard to this whole media thing. And we're kind of, where are we left at? What's going to happen? Right? What's the long-term thing? And the only thing I will say is I see Dan and Nina. I've never seen Dan smile so much. He's so happy.
It's been months, maybe a year or two.
I will say that I think the Doge situation did maybe demonstrate a point that I guess, to give credit to Democrats or the left, that there is waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, but you can't actually balance our budget. You can't fix the deficit just by eliminating unpopular foreign aid type programs. I think a lot of the American people, unfortunately, have that wrong in their heads, that the reason we're so in debt is we give tons of money to everybody. I mean, it's a lot of money, so it is true that everybody gets tons of money, but the major problems are what we spend on entitlements, on defense, on government services, that, anytime you want to cut anything serious, someone will go, oh, no, but that's helping people. You can't just target unpopular foreign programs and actually solve the budget deficit. So maybe we all kind of learn that lesson in real time. You have to have hard battles over, and which I am perfectly willing to do. I am fine to cut entitlements massively. But if you don't think that's politically popular and you don't want to do that because you're Donald Trump, then then you're not going to make real cuts to that.
Sorry, let me just ask him a joke question and we'll bring you in, Nina. What is the MAGA response to that? Like, a lot of the vast majority of the spending is entitlement programs. I believe Donald Trump that he doesn't want to cut them. I think there is a lot less fraud, waste, and abuse than I think a lot of us would love for there to be. I mean, we would love if we could solve the deficit problem by kicking fraudsters off of these programs. But so what is the conservative response to that?
What is the conservative response to what? That we want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, but that they all reside in entitlements?
No, that we want to cut spending, but much of the spending is entitlement programs of people who are not actually fraudsters, like people who who there's a new understanding on the right that these people actually need these services.
Well, yeah, I don't think that, I think that the stance that we need to cut Medicare and Medicaid to shrink the size of the government or shrink spending is a kind of outdated right-wing talking point. I don't think that MAGA believes that. And like, I know that like, me and Nina have like vibed on this in the past. I don't remember if they were episodes that aired or if we were just like talking, but MAGA is like more aligned with like the populist left on the economic issues than I think they're given credit for, that maybe mainstream
right.
like media slash discourse gives them credit for. We want to close the borders and take care of our citizens. One thing that I think is notable about the Elon Musk Doge effort is that he never went across to the Pentagon, which is somewhere that MAGA has interest in cutting. Because we're doves, but I don't think MAGA is doves. I think they think that the Pentagon is a cesspit, and that there's obviously, first of all, it's obviously political, and second of all, it's obviously very bloated, probably in ways that we can't even fathom. And Elon Musk never went over there before he was. I think it's the State Department and the Pentagon, before he was doing anything about anything with Medicaid and Medicare, and likewise with Congress, by the way. But I mean, again, like we all know how I feel about that, and I've stated my opinion about it. The Pentagon was where it was at, and he just like forgot to go.
Amen.
I don't know.
All
But we-
six of us agree that
Amen.
Pentagon defense spending would be a good place to start.
Yes.
Yes,
That is
I
the
mean,
place to start.
including
Im-
Tammy.
that-
You agree as well?
Yes. Yes.
Tammy, I think the big problem is it's hard to hold coalitions together. And this is where populism versus libertarianism is just already butting heads, right? It's hard. I mean, Democrats, like the end of the Clinton administration, the Ralph Naders of the world, they were frustrated. Like, you know, Pat Buchanan with the Reagan Revolution after 12 years. Like, this is what happens. And it's hard to hold your coalition together to say, I'm going to give you a little here, but not on this bill. Then on the next bill, I'm going to give you a little, but it's going to offend you. It takes real skill to govern like that. And I don't know if Trump has the patience.
Tammy, thank you so much. Nina, I want to come to you because I want to move on. Finally, if everybody gives me permission, we had enough to speak about Elon
We got
Musk.
one more thing, but did we see the one where President Trump said Elon was wearing thin?
I did not read that now. Read it out.
May I? Because I did predict, okay? I did predict that this was going to happen. Here is President Donald J. Trump. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. Hello, somebody. Let me just go on and say that one more time. Elon was wearing thin. In other words, he's weak. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. He just went crazy. I'm telling you, President Donald J. Trump, we don't agree on a lot, but we agree on this. Elon Musk has overstepped his bounds. Who does he think he is? He's not elected to anything. The nerve. The nerve. He was wearing thin. The president said he was wearing thin.
He thought he bought a president.
I'm loving it.
All right, we're gonna put a cap on this and move on to our next topic with the time that we have. I am calling Karine JeanPierre has left the chat. Thank you guys. Thank you. I desperately want to be a funny person, and I'm not. Every once in a while, like once every 2 years, my husband says I come up with something good. So in the midst of this big reckoning over the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline, his former press secretary, Karine JeanPierre, has released a book called Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines, in which she declares she's stepping away from the Democratic Party. And according to her publisher, the book will offer her view of those 3 weeks of turmoil following Biden's horrible debate performance before he stepped out of the race. Now, let's just take a little trip down memory lane to how Karine JeanPierre responded to a journalist asking her a question about that debate performance in real time. Let's watch SOT 3.
I think part of the problem that Democrats are articulating is that it wasn't just that he had a cold, but rather he had, answers. He was trailing off. He didn't answer some questions in a sort of fulsome way. And speaking of Nancy Pelosi, one of the things that she recently said was that it was a legitimate question whether his performance was an episode or a condition. So I guess I wondered if there's been any consideration given to like releasing a more robust set of medical records or something to show his mental acuity.
So I will say this, look, and again, I get the question. It is a fair question to ask. We are not taking that away, and that's why the president certainly has spoken to this. As it relates to his medical records, we have been transparent. We have released thorough reports from his medical team every year since he's been in office. That is something that we have been pretty consistent about. As it relates to, something like a cognitive test, to the question that you're asking me about what the speaker, former speaker said. Obviously, she can speak for herself. His team, who has said, the medical team said it is not warranted in this case. We have put forward a thorough, transparent annual report on his health. So they have said that is not warranted. It is not necessary. Again, we understand. We're not taking away from what you all saw or what the American people saw. We understand. It was a bad night. It is not uncommon for incumbents to have a bad night on their first debate. And we are going to continue to do the work that we have been doing on behalf of the American people.
Oh, man.
Batya,
The nightmares.
Let me tell you something. Press Secretary 101. When it takes you that damn long to answer a question, you're already in trouble. Okay, that's all we need to know about that. She was the press secretary, so she only had two choices. Either you're going to keep pushing your president's agenda or you're going to leave. She decided not to leave, so she had to be in there telling these lies. People hate liars and hypocrites. So I hope that when she goes on the book tour, the first thing she does is apologizes to the American people. She went down the throat of many people, Congress members, press, everyday citizens over President Biden when she knew, at a certain point, she knew, all of them knew that they were covering up. Listen, people age and people age differently. We have no qualms about that. I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. This is not about ageism. This is about the fact that they lied flat out to the American people. The Democratic Party should be ashamed of itself. And the fact that she grifting off of this, just it sends me to the moon. And I ain't going with Elon, I'm going by myself. Okay, it just sends me to the moon. I'm embarrassed as a hell-raising humanitarian that's in the Democratic Party, but not of it, because people like me, two-way family, who called this out, I was ostracized. I was called everything but a child of God. People said I was trying to help President Trump become President Trump again, telling the truth. And I do remember Congressman Castro, who during the 2020 debate called out some of the things he was seeing, not a medical doctor, but he was seeing some things, and they disappeared him totally. People like her, people like Buttigieg, people like Beto, and any other of these neoliberal Democrats that come out now talking this mess, they should get no credit. They should get no interviews, because when it was hard to tell the truth, they were nowhere to be found. I still got the scars for it. So two-way family, I'm feeling like this right now. This is how I'm feeling, okay? I'm over it.
I think the interesting thing for her is like, there's no upside for the party for her to do this. There's no upside for her boss. I mean, look, you may not be happy with how it ended with Joe Biden, but Joe Biden gave her the opportunity of her career to be the White House press secretary. So I can't, like, if she's going to attempt to argue that he should have never gotten out, he would have won, like, that's nonsense. It's really about score settling, right? The moment she got that job, in my opinion, she was not qualified. She had very little experience being a briefer. Like, usually you come up through the Pentagon or the State Department, you're an official spokesperson for a candidate on the campaign trail, and you get used to the back and forth, the free flow with the press. You don't have to read your notes, etc. She was unqualified. In some level, I feel bad for her because the pot shots from her own team started immediately. You were reading Axios or Politico or other things when she got appointed to the job. Immediately, people said she was unprepared. She had the whole thing with John Kirby, where they basically did it together, which was so uncomfortable to watch. She was upset about it. So, I mean, to me, this is going to bring the whole thing back up in October. Just as we're going into the midterms, it's going to be again about Joe Biden. What happened? Should he have gotten out? And at the end of the day, what does it say about Joe Biden's White House? how many staff hated each other, knifed each other. Meanwhile, the guy was declining mentally. Like, it's just a brutal picture.
I think the nicest thing I can say about her is that if you read the original Sin book, she doesn't come up a lot. I think she was not super involved in high-level decision-making and could perhaps plausibly argue that she was also kept away from Biden to some degree. She didn't get a lot of FaceTime with the boss, so maybe she can plausibly try to say, I had no idea what was going on. Of course, that speaks to her credibility then, as she was trying to promise the American people that, no, I'm with him all the time, and behind closed doors, he's great. So she has nothing, no way out of this situation. If I were her, I would want to stop talking and go away for a while. So it is unfathomable to me that she has decided instead to tell her story or her side. No one wants this. I would say it's unfathomable to me that a publisher thought this was a good idea, but what I've learned about book publishers is that they have no idea what they're doing. So it doesn't surprise me that they greenlit this absolutely. It won't even be bad in like a it will do it's a hate read or something. It will just be boring. No one has called for this, and I almost feel bad beating her up on her this much because everyone dislikes her on every side of the political spectrum, left, right, mainstream people. She's fighting with, or her spokespeople are fighting with Alex Thompson over how they lied to him, so he burned a source there, which was totally fair to do in my point of view. I feel kind of bad for her, but she totally brought this on herself, and she's not that good.
Nina, do you assume that she's leaving, or that she's going to say she's independent because the party's not progressive enough? Like, do you assume that?
No, I think I think she's doing that out of convenience. I mean, the party has a 24% approval rate. Now she jumping, talking about she's independent. No, she gets no brownie point. This is all grift. She's not the first one. She won't be the last one. But let's just call this like it is. It is, let me save my own behind, or try to. And then she has no influence on Democratic voters. Nobody in Cleveland cares that she went independent. Nobody cares.
If it's not progressive, and if she's blaming Joe Biden, like, he ran the party the last 4 years. So
let's get Emma Jo in and bring in Sharon as Emma Jo tells us where she is on this.
Well, honestly, my first reaction to this was to go like insane, because this woman spent how many years like going up and shamelessly lying, obviously lying, like extremely obviously, pathetically lying on behalf of this like brain dead president who was doing incompetent things. And then I thought more about it, and I actually felt bad for her, because she spent years debasing herself and embarrassing herself on this guy's behalf. Clearly, this is some sort of indication that there's no place for her after that display of humiliation and incompetence, almost like in a ritual. And so now she has to say that she's an independent for some sort of other opportunity. And everyone is done with her, doesn't want to hear from her. The OGs like Nina, who have been, I guess, Democrat adjacent, or like populist Democrats, I think accurately reflecting where the Democratic base is on the grassroots level, have had to put up with her contempt and her defense at any cost of this neoliberal president who has not reflected the Democratic Party. And then like, you're supposed to look at her in the face now. And like, so she's got nowhere to go. She's got nothing to do. And this is after she woke up after like 2.5 years of just daily embarrassing herself. Sad.
Sharon, what do you want to talk about? Karine JeanPierre, about Elon Musk? Where are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's on your mind.
Well, I'm in South Carolina, but I was born and raised in Washington State. I actually had a question on another topic, but you guys are all over Elon and Karine JeanPierre. So I hope KJP does not read her audiobook, because all the ands and the ums is going to make it about a 14-hour book. It's just going to take too long to get through. So hopefully she has somebody else writing and reading for her.
I mean,
sorry, I put smack on the show.
No. Sharon, if you're looking at the Elon Musk and the Donald Trump breakdown on this side, and then the Karine JeanPierre Biden Democrat breakdown on this side, who's losing worse?
Well, I think ultimately Elon's going to lose. I mean, he can have a Twitter war, but Twitter's not real life.
Good point.
If Elon
Hello.
needs to put his name on a ballot, I mean, it's great to be rich, it's great to donate money, but people actually voted for Donald Trump. They didn't vote for Elon. I think that's where politicians need to get careful about how much they put in the bag of celebrities, rich people, whoever, because people are voting for the politician, not the fluff.
Well, thank you, Sharon.
Sorry.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks.
Come back
you,
soon.
Sharon.
Thank
I
you.
will
Let's
say,
bring in,
though,
Dave
that
from Ohio. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I do think there are some people voted for Trump because of Elon. Like I do, just like I think there's some people voted for Trump because of RFK. I do think that kind of like tech, wealthy, entrepreneurial, kind of visionary, eccentric, that it was like part of Trump's like coolness, right? Like there was Elon and there was RFK and there were like all these like Star Wars bars of characters that like gave him a cool factor a little bit. I do think,
Dan, you think Elon gave President Trump a cool factor?
I do.
Really?
I actually do.
Ooh.
I do.
I'm with you,
Okay.
Nina. I don't really see it. Dean, what's on your mind? Where are you calling us from, and what do you want to talk about?
I'm just south of Nina in Canton, Ohio.
Hey,
Yeah, Pro Football Hall of Fame. Oh,
Robbie, this is for you right here.
Yeah.
Hey,
Dean.
Big IO, Big Ten's going to rule for a while. It's going to be great. But please, I want to squash any thoughts of a third party. I voted for Ross Perot. And when he went third party, I thought we had a chance back then, and I felt like I wasted my vote like a lot of folks. So I hope that doesn't come to pass, that there is a third party. I think that most, and I am on the right, Robbie, I like your politics. And Nina, I love your Cleveland Browns orange outfit there. You look wonderful. Dan, you always look good. But I think I think we got to look to Seinfeld to the answers for this bromance that has gone sideways. Do you remember the Kramer episode where he gets rid of his girlfriend and Elaine and Jerry start bad-mouthing his girlfriend and they get back together? They're going to get back together at some point, guys. This is something, and everyone's going to be embarrassed because there's going to be bromance again. And it's going to be great. And Nina, I think you'd take his money if Musk came back. I think you'd take his money.
I think that is an underrated take. Where I think there is a high degree of possibility that could happen. I mean, Trump has made up with people he's feuded with within the Republican Party and without a number of times. He is smart and savvy in the way that he holds certain grudges for the sake of being a successful and entertaining individual, but he also buries others. So I agree with you. On the third party question, without expressing whether it would be a good idea for Elon or for the Libertarian Party, it is nevertheless the case that the Libertarian Party, interestingly enough, in this last cycle, it was taken over by a group of people at the leadership level who were very pro RFK Jr. and somewhat pro Trump. In fact, they were more pro RFK Jr. and pro Trump than they were their own candidate, the person Chase Oliver, who ended up being the Libertarian Party candidate. The leadership wanted to either endorse RFK Jr. or kind of tacitly endorse Trump. It was very interesting. Those people some of them have left and there's new leadership in. My point being, the leadership of the Libertarian Party is weakly occupied right now. It would be very easy for anyone to come in and kind of take it over. And so if Elon set his mind to that, it very well could be done much more cheaply than buying influence over the Republican Party. Not saying he's going to do that or it would be a good idea for anyone. It is actually, though, a weirdly possible avenue for political.
Okay, so show of hands, who thinks they're going to get back together?
Yeah.
I think they'll not get back together, but
who thinks Elon Musk is going to start a third party or start funding a third party to punish the GOP? And who thinks he's going to flip to the Democrats? No one. Okay.
I've got another theory, just a quick theory. I'd love to get your take on this. It's a little bit far out. This caught me by surprise too. And, I got the popcorn like everyone else. Is there any thought that maybe Elon Musk is taking this strong take as just to distance himself completely from Trump so people stop destroying Tesla?
Honestly, if you look at Tesla's stock
interesting.
today, the stock is just plummeting.
Yeah.
I don't think if that was his ploy, I don't think it worked. Thank you so much for joining us, Dean. I hope you'll come back.
Great show.
Thank you, Nina, Emma Jo, Robby, Dan, and all of our viewers. What a fun episode. That was really great.
That was fun.
Unbelievable
Amazing.
times in politics.
I will see you guys all here next week at 4 p.m.
Bye, guys.
Bye.